Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen here with the Latino Chamber of Commerce, and I am joined by our two wonderful partners in the chamber industry, Danelle Abeda with the Pueblo Chamber and Amy Gasparetti with the Pueblo West Chamber. And today we are coming to you here in our live stream through our Facebook pages with a webinar on how to use 4 ways that you and your business can use Pueblo Shares. Now, you may have seen some information over these past couple of months about Pueblo Shares and all of the amazing content and all of the things that are going on with this particular effort here in our community. But today we are going to have the opportunity to dig in more about what that means, about how to use it, and more importantly, why this is going to be such a powerful tool for you and your business. But before we kick it over to our two amazing presenters, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues and friends from the Pueblo Chamber and the Pueblo West Chamber to give some welcome remarks. So I'll turn it over to you, Danelle.
Sure. Thanks, Stephen. And thanks, Tim and Lori, for being with us here today. On behalf of the Greater Pueblo Chamber of Commerce, thank you for hosting this seminar and, for all of the work that Pueblo Shares does. This is a huge asset for our community. And, through the chamber, we use it time and time again, in marketing, especially for Visit Pueblo, having so much great content to put out there and so many beautiful pictures and photos and videos has been great just to market our community. So thank you. And, we look forward to continue working with you guys.
All right, Amy, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say a big thank you too. I think we have been meeting as a team for almost a year, maybe a little over a year and this project being part of that collaborative meeting. And I'm glad to see there's just been a lot of content and a lot of resources added to this. I'm excited. We have been able to use that already. We put out an annual community guide for Pueblo West that we send out in our relocation packages, as well as to giving to visitors and new members of our community. And we were able to utilize some of those things. And it's so much better than having to go look for stock photos because we have been able to use images from our area. And then the group has benefited from that as well, because some of the things that we did go out and get specifically, we have also shared for the use of other people in their marketing so that they have images and information about the local area. So this has been mutually beneficial, and I can't wait to learn some more specifics. So thank you guys.
Well, and no stranger to the Pueblo community, no strangers, I should say, to our efforts and to the Pueblo community are our presenters here today. We have Tim Zerker with Z3 Digital, who you all know and love, world of social media. Him and his colleagues have done a phenomenal job in helping so many across our community dig in deeper to that. And also Lori Ariano with us here this morning with Active Media, also plays a key role in so many organizations and helping them to look at the marketing and all things that come out to our community. Amazing job. And we are also lucky, all 3 of our chambers, as well as so many other entities, that we're all part of this Pueblo Shares effort. And we have the opportunity to work with our presenters and many others that help put all of this content together, from the website to the way that it works to what we're going to learn about here today. So again, on behalf of everybody, it's a pleasure to have you. I do want to ask that everybody tuning in here, if you have questions during the presentation, you can maybe drop those in the comment fields below. We will have some of our teams monitoring as best we can to capture some of those questions. And we may have a little bit of time at the end to take just a few of those. And certainly if we don't happen to get to all of the questions, we could forward those to our presenters and make sure we get back in touch with you on your questions. So we are streaming on multiple pages. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim and to Lori to take it away. We will go ahead and mute our microphones and our cameras, and the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you so much to all the chambers for hosting this this great workshop. Lori and I have been working on this project now for a while, and it's really exciting to be able to show some results to the community and kind of tell you what we've been up to and how you can start using it. So first, I'm going to start off with a basic question. Why do we need Pueblo Shares? There's really a pretty basic answer. I mean, there's a lot of different answers, I guess you could say, but the biggest one is that Pueblo so far has been really bad about talking about ourselves in a positive light. All small communities struggle with this. We all have issues. Every city has problems, but Pueblo tends to talk about our negative stuff a lot more than our positive. And that really hurts us nationally. It hurts us in economic development, and it hurts us in attracting visitors and tourists and all those aspects. So I'm going to show you one first thing. This report was run in January of 2019. as you can see, lots of information on here. Lots of conversations are monitored. This system is a system that my company has access to, that listens and watches and reads basically everything on the internet, and then gives it a positive or negative ranking according to what is being said about a certain topic. In this case, the topic is Pueblo, Colorado, Pueblo City, Pueblo County, or just Pueblo CO, right? And so as you can see, it's right now it's 64% negative. That's not great. That's not ideal. That's a lot of negative conversation with only a little bit of positive stuff. In the last year, we have been working diligently to try to impact this number. And that, combined with some recent events, including COVID and others, our performance is doing much, much better. Right now, the conversation about Pueblo online is 84% positive. That's something like a 40-point swing. It's massive. I don't think Pueblo Shares can take all the credit. I do think, though, that our work has definitely impacted this. You can see it on social pages. You can see it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can see it online when you search up Pueblo. The results are becoming more positive, and this is helping our community as a whole. There's a lot of ways that Pueblo Shares is working to address this kind of positive, negative conversation. We're going to kind of go through some of those today. I want to ask one more question, though, before we start moving on to how individuals can start using this system. How would things have gone with COVID if we hadn't been investing in our image? I think they would have gone a lot worse for Pueblo than they did. As you can see, there's actually a lot of really good things. In a time with a lot of bad news, there's actually a lot of really good things happening in our community. We've seen a 30% increase in organic traffic from those searching for Pueblo, Colorado. People are talking about us outside of Pueblo and are interested in our community, and that is a good sign for a lot of things. There is a 350% increase in search traffic from organic with the paid methods that we are now using, right? So we are getting in front of 350% more people now than we as a community were just 6-7 months ago, as Pueblo Shares was starting to kind of get lifted off, right? Now, most of this traffic is from the Denver metro area, which isn't surprising. That's our biggest population center in Colorado. And so far, we've seen really, really good results. If you talk to realtors in the community or any other groups, you've seen a lot of interest from outside the city coming into Pueblo, which is a really, really good thing. Pueblo Shares provides a cross-platform network of positive and timely content, and that supports all of this work. It supports what our community is doing in a lot of different ways. And so I'm going to pass it over to Lori to talk a little bit about the economic development impacts of this project so far.
Thanks, Tim. So yeah, we're really excited to be seeing how people are using Pueblo Shares. And that's really what today's seminar is about, is to communicate with an extended amount of businesses, organizations, nonprofits, individuals, to look at how is Pueblo Shares actually working to benefit you and your organization. And if you're not using it, how could you use it immediately to go ahead and increase the image of the community that you serve as well. So what we did was we broke down some case studies. So these are pretty exciting because it does actually have real life opportunity matched with what's happening in the Pueblo Shares organization. This case study that you're looking at right now is obviously PEDCO, so economic development. If your industry happens to fall in that group, Pueblo Shares is a critical part of what you're trying to get accomplished. Job growth and recruitment is something that we struggle with. We know that. We know that lots of people have an interest in our community until they start researching our community and learning about it. And if they're not learning positive information during that process, it does make it a lot more difficult to go ahead and get those specialized individuals to relocate here, or a company as a whole. We had some real life scenarios where we were able to entice some people with some of our incentives to come into the area. And everything was going positive until they had the opportunity to sit down at a local restaurant and they heard some conversation going on about negative things that our community members were saying within that environment. So when they start looking, we want to make sure that they're receiving some positive information. So a lot of what Pueblo Shares is producing content-wise is positive in pictures, in video, in story development, and that helps support job growth and recruitment. So you can send people that direction to look at those stories and to see what is actually happening there. Economic gardening through social engagement, letting people know what are some great opportunities here, what are some things that you could take advantage of. We recently focused on some economic news about purchasing power for some of the retail shops in town, and that absolutely helps people in looking at our opportunities and saying, well, what could I do that might be able to make money in our community? It also makes us visible through the Pueblo Shares network globally. So we are talking to an audience that's bigger than just our local community. And we're able to do that through a combination of efforts, whether it's using specific platforms that anybody could access throughout the world, or if it happens to be through media buying. So we have partnerships on the creative team and on the extended team that allow us to support that with media buys. But one of the great things about this is that we are collaborating. We're collaborating with a lot of different entities, which gives us so much more power as a community overall. So on the economic side, we are working with PEDCO. We are working with chambers, as Stephen, Amy, and Danielle had alluded to earlier. And then we're also working with the city and county to say, what do we have? Where can we contribute those assets, and how can we get those out to a bigger audience? Our next case study that we did was small businesses. And small businesses are the lifeblood of many of our opportunities here in Pueblo, Colorado. Recently, we did a biking package that you might have seen. We did some biking videos. We also did some pictures of that. And then we did 2 different stories. We did a business story about the fact that our biking industry is seeing a 60% growth on that. And we also did a recreation component. We have so many bicycling trails here that we're kind of a sleeping giant when it comes to what we have to offer in the biking community. So coming from a package of all different angles, whether it happened to be showing visually how we enjoy life here, or if it was stimulating somebody through a news story and publication of that news story in entities outside of our community, we're actually driving back the focus to small businesses. So they're able to go ahead and see economic growth from us sharing their stories. They're able to use the marketing videos and photo assets that we're uploading to our system free of charge. So they're royalty free. They're able to use those to help promote their organizations. And then they're getting this multimedia attention, whether it's coming through the media themselves, or if it's coming through the greater network. So if that happens to be exposure on social media, if that happens to be exposure through our website, they're able to go ahead and get a bigger perspective. Now, when you talk about this case study, you want to know, who are we collaborating with when it comes to small business? Well, obviously, the chambers are still supporting all of those initiatives, but this is where the public information officers, the marketing directors really get involved to find out what we need to be talking about that gives a greater value to a larger number of people. So in this particular case, we can actually go back to the fact that maybe a bike manufacturer might be interested in this area, because we've got testing trails that we could do. We have over 300 days of sunshine. There's lots of different components to that that enable it to be a strong component for them as well. The next case study that we did was with the Association of Realtors. So community growth is something that we're all really focused on. For us to experience any prosperity in this area, we need to be looking at, how do we grow constructively? How do we grow really in a positive manner? And Tim kind of alluded to this earlier when you talk about the fact that we've seen so many increases in what people are interested in our community. A lot of that has been because of content development and ad buys. You know, as people, especially in COVID, have seen some of these struggles back and forth forth, they're looking for other alternatives, maybe from where they live. They're also maybe looking for changes just to their day-to-day life. COVID has allowed them to focus in a little bit more internally, and they might be questioning where they're going. So the content that we're developing is actually proving to have a really strong component on the ad buys. So the traffic that we're driving is really quality traffic that people are looking at Pueblo, they're coming in and they're actually staying because they're learning a little bit about what we have to do. So 15% of traffic to choosepueblo.com is coming from local realtors referral websites. Now, if you don't know about choosepueblo.com, it's a great component of what we're offering as a part of the overall Pueblo Shares initiative. And that is a website that's designed for people that are coming out of the area, but have an interest in Pueblo itself. So if you were looking for utilities, there's a map that's up there that tells you where utilities are for different types of properties. Because of our change in direction with COVID, we've also started to realize that other things that are really important to people might be education and recreation. So we can add to the dynamic diversity of that content that's up there and still increase the ability for people to be educated about our community, but also to put a positive message alongside of that. So 30% of the traffic is coming via third-party referral sites. That could be your business. It could be your entity if you're linking back to choosepueblo.com. It also could be linked to the ad buys that we're doing, driving traffic so that people can see the positive component of our community. Moving on from that, Tim is going to take over from here.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of testimonials already. I know all the chambers mentioned some ways that they've used some of the Pueblo Shares content already. Andrea Aragon is an awesome individual in the community. I think most of us already know her or know of her. She's one of our gyms as a community members, and she is the director of the Rawlings Foundation now. They were actually able to use Pueblo Shares content to redevelop their website just a couple of months ago, and that's just one example of how the Pueblo Shares content can be used, whether it's by more public organizations like the chamber or private foundations or private businesses. The other big aspect that's really, really important that the Pueblo Shares is allowing us to do is empowering individuals to talk about our community in a positive way, right? We all love Pueblo. If we don't, and we're still here, then I don't know what we're doing, right? We're all here because we love the community and we love the environment and the businesses and the people here. And Pueblo Shares is really allowing us to talk about that. It's developing local pride via our content development. These are some of our top fans on Pueblo Shares. If you want to go check out Pueblo Shares on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, you could become our next top fan. But these are some great individuals. Again, probably a lot of us know them. Jen Myers, Sam Ebersol, J. Michael Baker, and Jody Ferris are all awesome people in the community, and they are big advocates for Pueblo. And so we're giving them a specific shout out because they've done great engaging with our content and showing it to their friends. I'm sure Lori and Stephen and I and Donnell and we're all probably up there on the top list as well, but we took that out because we get paid to do some of this and it's our job to be an advocate for the city, right? It also highlights real community members, right? So like these four are a great example, but the stories that Pueblo Shares is telling are not just they're not just when an organization has a big piece of news that's great for the community. They're also very personal one-on-one stories, right? One of the great stories we were able to do last year was there was a neighborhood man who went and shoveled, I think, 15 sidewalks and driveways for his elderly neighbors because he was in an older part of town and he knew that they needed it. And so he spent like the entire day shoveling snow. And that's just one of those things that makes Pueblo, right? That knits us together to be such a tight woven community. And that is one of those stories that we can share, right? It allows us to highlight that real personality of Pueblo, which is an amazing thing. And then of course it uplifts local accomplishments and victories. You'll see us share all sorts of sports championships that Pueblo wins nationally. Until we started this project a couple of years ago, had no idea how often we topped national charts with different sports. But we really are a high accomplishing community, which is awesome to see. And Pueblo Shares helps to push that out. And then of course we provide a platform to demonstrate community pride. A lot of us already are proud of Pueblo. But this platform helps you to have a place to show it. And it is promoting different trends like hashtag Pueblo Proud. You'll probably see that all over the place now. That was started almost 30 years ago. We were able to bring it back this last couple of years. And it's a great way to demonstrate that we're proud of our community, that we're not sad that we live here, right? Another really important piece of this whole project is the local talent ecosystem that it is helping to develop and foster. Pueblo has amazing creatives. We have amazing photographers and videographers and graphic designers and painters and potters and a million other creative industries. And this project is helping to highlight that talent. It is supportive content for recruitment in order to bring new talent to the community of those, for instance, Lori mentioned those highly specialized fields like doctors or specific researchers, and it's helping to spotlight our local talent. It's helping to show our local photographers, videographers that are incredible, and give them actual business. I know Chris Osorio is one of the photographers that we found doing all of our research and shared out everywhere. And I think he's a lot busier than he was a couple of months ago because he's gotten such good recognition for some amazing images that he's done in the community. And he's just one example. Pueblo Shares itself is completely locally sourced. Every single image, video, piece of written content that you see in any of our platforms was written and paid for right here locally. We are really big on focusing on our local talent. If we want to keep our local talent as a community, we have to keep them employed. And so that is just one of the many sides of Pueblo Shares that I think is doing really well, and it's hoping to demonstrate kind of our vast and diverse talent pool here in the community. That image is one of Chris Osorio's, and that is right now, I believe, still being considered for one of the best of Pueblo images. So always make sure you go vote for that. He's a great guy. Lori?
Absolutely. We're excited to see there was actually 4 people that were up for Best of Pueblo that are all people that you may not even recognize their names right offhand, but as they've been contributing to the Pueblo Shares initiative, they've been getting a lot more visibility, and their names are becoming highly recognizable now for their talented eye behind the camera. So what does that really mean for businesses here? The great news is that you've seen some case studies that have been very diverse, and hopefully you've fallen into one of those categories. But if you didn't fall into one of those categories, it doesn't mean that Pueblo Shares isn't for you. It means that maybe you need to mix and match the tools that are available through Pueblo Shares in order to find out what combination works for your entity. So what's really great about the initiative that we've put together is that you can mix and match the tools very specifically to what is a goal that you're trying to accomplish, what is something that you're trying to communicate. We can support a lot of those things just naturally, but if you have a marketing person or a public information officer that would like to reach out to us, we would love to hear your input so that we can consider that. We do consider Pueblo Shares to be a community project and not owned by any one particular group. And so your contribution is a huge component to that. How can you see what those tools are? Well, we have social platforms that you are welcome to like and follow so that you can see exactly what Pueblo Shares is developing as far as content is concerned. You're welcome to go look at choosepueblo.com. The maps are just phenomenal, and that's what a lot of people really comment about. But from a recruitment angle or just an interest from people that are looking outside of our area in, choosepueblo.com does a wonderful job of being able to carry that message specifically that way. And then we have puebloshares.com, which is a website of itself, but it's a content library. And that's where you can go to find out the information that you can download yourself to be able to use in a brochure, a magazine, on your website, or just share the content on your individual profile or networking opportunities. But then it also allows you to contribute to the library. So if you have pictures of an event that was highly successful, if you're an organization, you can certainly go ahead and contribute to that in any form. Most importantly, the team is what is really unique about this whole situation, and probably one of the things I'm most proud of when I talk about the Pueblo Shares initiative. And what that is that it's been a combination of competitive organizations that have put down the competition and have said, what do we need to do for the best part of our community? So how do we highlight that? How do we spotlight that? And how do we work in a tangible way so that we can highlight the success stories of our area and the residents that make that up? So Tim and John Paul are a part of the Z3 team, and they collaborate together in order to help us with that internal message. Danielle and Donnell, so make sure you get those names correct. They are huge advocates because they happen to be kind of the fiscal oversight for this project, but then also great contributors as far as talking about visitors to the area, things that might be happening statewide that we could contribute and be a part of, but really getting into that different angle, maybe some of the travel angle to people that might be looking at our community from the outside. Then we have Nikki Hart. So Nikki's business has been huge in the choosepueblo.com side of things, and she's actually our advocate for the advertising side of this. So she takes the external audience and she says, how can we get this information out to people who haven't heard about Pueblo, or to people who have heard about Pueblo and are looking for us? So Digital Heart Media is her company, and she has been highly impactful in trying to share the content that Tim, John Paul, and the creative team and I are trying to put out there. And that combination of synergy has really connected, which is why you see that huge increase of people, 350% looking at Pueblo. It's that dynamic that's worked well. And then obviously myself with active media professionals, we're looking at trying to develop new content stories, new interesting things that you may not have heard of about our community. We have heard that we need more diversity besides just talking about the Riverwalk or just talking about the reservoir. And we do have great circles to be able to reach out to that. So some community relations stuff, like you see here, reaching out to let you know what we can actually do to be able to help support whatever your initiative is. So this is the team. So this is an extension of kind of that pride of being able to put down competitive components and come together to work for a higher benefit of the good of the community. All of these people or organizations that you see here have representation in the Pueblo Shares initiative. That means they're coming to the table and they're speaking about what do we need that really shares the larger component of that. So is there something that would benefit everybody in education? You can see that we've got the community college, the university, both school districts. All of those people are people that we need to be speaking to because education is a huge interest in our area, and we do have great stories to be sharing. One thing that I'll highlight is District 60 has just gone through and uploaded a bunch of pictures to the Pueblo Shares initiative talking about virtual learning and showing learning with protection, COVID protection on. So whether that's kids with masks, whether that's social distancing, if you're in the educational field or you have an interest in that area, some of those pictures might be hugely valuable to you, and they're high quality photos. District 60 did a great job in capturing that, but those are available right now for you on the site itself. So we told you that we were going to give you some actionable ways that you could leave this seminar today and put Pueblo Shares to work for your organization. So a couple of things that we'd like for you to think about. So maybe get a pen and paper out and start to write down, when I leave this seminar, what are some things that I could do today or in the next few days that could be an asset, not only to the people that I serve, maybe individually, but also to my community as a whole. So we're asking you to think about adding a page to your website. It shouldn't cost you anything because you've already probably got a webmaster and are hosting those things simply because of your visibility in the community. But think about, we choose Pueblo because, and creating a page around why you choose Pueblo, whether it's for your headquarters, whether it's just an entity that you visit, whether it's a place that you collaborate with other businesses in order to reach out to deeper areas in the country. That's a page that you could go ahead and utilize on your website and create that would support getting the positive word out about our community. But also, you could think about considering a link to choosepueblo.com so that other people could learn about that. Maybe you put it in your email signature. If you just want people to know, curious about our community, go visit choosepueblo.com, especially if a lot of the email contacts that you have are out of the area. That might be a great way of taking that to the next level. You can also follow our social channels. So if you're watching today and you're not following Pueblo Shares, get on your phone right now, get on Facebook, get on Instagram, and look for us at Pueblo Shares. And you could share the stories that we're sharing. One that you might have seen that has really kind of taken off was the one that we did with Camille Goodwin. And we focused on her as the local wakeboarder that's also third in the world in her competition sport. So very unique story. The Gazette carried it, Magic FM carried it. We had a variety of people that were very interested in learning about that. So you could see those stories, be one of the first ones to see them and be one of the first ones to tell your friends about those, which is a really cool idea. Also, think about uploading content. Be sure that you own the content first, though, because there is a licensing process that you need to be aware of when it comes to content. Do you own that content? Does it belong to you? And if so, is it something that you'd be willing to share with other community members so that they might be able to have access to it as well? You can share your news. Somebody got promoted. You guys won a great award. There's something that's happening that's special. And we have a news component to that we try and collect that. And if there's a way for us to share it through our network of people, we definitely will give you a louder voice in trying to share that. So when you do a press release, that takes us to our last one, include hello@puebloshares.com or hello@choosepueblo.com. Both of those are super important to add to your press release list so that we can make sure that our microphone is connected to you and that we're amplifying your message at even a greater degree.
Perfect. So now we have a couple minutes for questions, and we want to wrap it up with a quick kind of demo video that shows you kind of how you can use it. So Stephen or Amy, do you have any questions on the Facebook pages yet? Let's see.
Tim, we'll go ahead and gather those questions up. I think we may have just a few, but if you want us to do that now, or if you want to run the video, we can let you go ahead and do that, and then we'll gather them up for you.
Perfect. Here goes. So here is our brand new video. Cool. All right. So any questions from the audience all over the internet?
Well, first off, we just want to extend again on behalf of the Chambers our sincere thanks to both of you, Lori and Tim, for taking the time to share information. This is an amazing opportunity I hope that many tuning in will consider sharing this information as well as sharing today's webinar to help get this out there. So to start us off with questions, I think Amy has a few, so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Just a couple, and I'm going to start with a comment, Stephen. I think that we all need to remember that we find what we go looking for. So, to combat some of the negative things and negative images that maybe people get frustrated with or are dealing with, I would challenge everybody to leave their house every day or engage in business every day, asking themselves, what is great about Pueblo? And recognizing the people that are extending a hand to others, whether it's in business or in a grocery store, or the people doing extra work out with the kids during drop off or whatever. Because if we look for things to be proud of, things to praise, people to praise, things that even our kids are doing to give them a lift up, then that is what we're going to find. And so the more we look for that, the more we notice it, and then we become contributors to all of this that's going towards positive Pueblo imaging, right? So that being said, Lori, my question is, I had a question, and I know that you and I have worked on this a little bit in the past, but beyond some of the things that you've already shared, when people are looking at a community to move into that really contributes to their perception of a high quality of life, both professionally and personally for their families, because if somebody's going to move a business here or start a business here, they're probably going to be raising their families here too. So what are some of those things that we can be aware of and watching for to further highlight as we're developing some of this content, to ask other people to highlight in those specific areas as well? Does that make sense? What are some of those key components that we should be watching for?
So, happiness factors come from a lot of different areas. They're built into your general lifestyle most of the time. Most people will not come to the table and say, it was my job that fulfilled me 100%, although we would love to see lots of people thriving in that particular area. It generally has to do with community. And I think that that's what this initiative is really all about. When you start to think about, why does somebody come to a community and stay, or why does somebody come to a community and leave? The biggest answer to that question is usually if they feel like they were welcomed, if they feel like they fit in, if they felt like they had a socialization component to what they were doing. When you come to a new community and you're the outsider, it's very hard for you to feel like you're being welcomed into the network. And especially with so many people who have lived in Pueblo their whole lives and have maybe never left this area, we take a lot of things that we see every day for granted, that's just something that other communities have. And really the reality of that is that we are a special place. We are a place that has a lot of ethnicity to it. You'll hear it brought up a lot of times, food, right? We have the best food in the area. But really, if you're not from this area, it's hard for you to appreciate that. And even if you are from the area, sometimes because you do take it for granted, you have to be reminded of those special things in life. So socialization is a huge part of that. Even like things like relaxation. What do you do to get away from the stress of the world? That could be things like traffic. You don't think about it. You don't really kind of connect those two things. But, the people that are working really hard to make sure that our traffic patterns flow very well, that's an important component of the day. So when you think about what can contribute to this initiative, it's everything. It's all the little things. It's like Tim had mentioned, the person that goes out and shovels the snow. We talk about people being a huge part of what makes Pueblo special. And really, people are what make every place special. So what are those individual stories that we can highlight? We do use a matrix to look at judging, I guess, or clarifying how things go through the Pueblo Shares initiative so that we can keep the level of quality of content at a certain point, but the snow shoveling story is a far cry from a national recognition, but it doesn't necessarily make it any more or less important to how you feel and how you engage with the community. So just kind of keeping a broad perspective about what those things are. Education is important. What are new educational options that are coming to our area? It doesn't have to be fresh and new again. It can be old and traditional, because we find comfort in old and traditional. So kind of thinking about what are the comfort things that you need to feel welcome and safe in a community, and how do we take that and put a visual component or a story component and share that to the greater group.
Perfect. I did have a question for Tim and Lori, but you just answered it. So that takes care of that. So that's perfect. I don't believe we have any other questions submitted at this time. However, if people are watching this particular stream, maybe after it's already completed here this morning, Tim and Lori, might you be able to say where could they go to maybe submit questions? And if they're looking at the information you presented and have a few other things they want to clarify, who can they reach out to? Where should they go?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways. I'm always a fan of just shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram. We're always monitoring those, and we'll try to get responded to you as fast as possible. But it also, if you have maybe more in-depth questions that need more explanation, you can also shoot us an email at hello@Pueblo Shares. The creative team gets those directly, and then we can take a look at them and hopefully get you a response pretty quickly. So yeah, any of those ways, or of course any of us individually, we're all three of us that are on today, right? Myself, Lori, and Danelle are pretty easy to get a hold of. So.
Okay, well, like I said, I think you've done a phenomenal job answering all the questions, but really giving some insight. And again, I would encourage everybody tuning in or watching this, even after the production piece here this morning, to please take a minute and be sure and share this. This is one of those tools that it's not going to do our community any good if we leave it sitting on the shelf, so to speak. So help make sure that we give our creative team plenty of content to sort through, plenty of things to work on. But more importantly, if your business is involved, and I know all of our members, certainly from our chamber and probably all our other chambers are, in marketing not only their company but their community, please use this opportunity. It's an amazing chance to use some of that content. So Lori and Tim, I'll turn it over to you for last closing remarks before we close out our session here today.
Yeah, well, I would just say thank you to everyone who tuned in, everyone who's watching after the fact, and thank you so much to the chambers for hosting this. Hopefully it was valuable. Hopefully you learned some stuff. But definitely, please make sure you engage with us. The story of Pueblo isn't fully rounded out until all the people in Pueblo are talking about it. So,
absolutely, and I'd just like to continue with the thank yous. That it was fabulous to be able to use your platforms to get the message out to all of those individuals. But I just encourage people that have never thought of themselves as a contributor to the Pueblo Shares story to reach out and just have a conversation with us, because a little bit of brain power can unlock a lot of opportunities that none of us maybe could see on the surface. And until we really get those communication alleys open between one another, we really don't know what our capacity could be as a community to make this initiative grow to an even greater level for everybody to benefit from.
Wonderful. Well, again, Tim and Lori, thank you. And to the entire team, to the Pueblo Shares team, the creative team, thank you for what you do. Thank you for this amazing opportunity here in Pueblo. And let's continue to get the message out there. So on behalf of the Latino Chamber, our friends at the Pueblo Chamber and the Pueblo West Chamber, we hope that you have a great rest of the day. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. And we'll look forward to more seminars, hearing more in the future.
Thank you.
thanks so much.
All right. Take care, everybody.